Alright guys, for some reason, I'm starting to lose my voice. I hope I'm not getting sick. With that being said, we finally have random rolls for our raid weapons. Again guys, everything will be time-stamped if you're wondering specifically what to look for on each one of these weapons. Also, something to mention is all of these weapons have an Adept version of them. Now, as far as I've seen, the Adept mods are still the same. I have not seen any new Adept mods added to the game. But again, Adept mods that you've acquired inside of Trials, inside of Grandmaster Nightfalls, all of these will be applicable to these weapons as well. Now to kick this list off, we have Deliverance. This is a precision frame fusion rifle, so think like main ingredient in that archetype. Now something about Deliverance right here, it's a stasis fusion rifle, meaning it's present in that kinetic slot. Now the rolls that you can get on this weapon is actually pretty interesting. First up, the new trait Chill Clip is found on this weapon. Direct hits with the top half of the magazine cause a detonation that slows nearby targets. Honestly guys, you could take an approach right here where you combine it with compulsive reloader to essentially just reload after every 2 to 3 shots, and then voila, you've got Chill Clip active at all times. Now the other new perks that we've seen, Bait and Switch, dealing damage with all equipped weapons within a short time to give this weapon a damage boost. Now from what I'm being told, this is about a 20% buff. Honestly, it doesn't seem like the play, just from what I've seen. Now we also have Successful Warm-Up, which we've seen on our bows before, where each final blow drops that charge time down, as well as the draw speed of bows. Again, only requiring you to actually get a single kill. Now Sleight of Hand is also on the weapon, where final blows of the weapon or abilities while this weapon is stowed increases handling stability and reload speed for a short duration. You also have Steady Hands, where kills provide improved handling for all weapons for a short duration. Honestly, not a bad perk there, guys. For run and gun situations, especially if you're swapping to and from your primary weapon, that increase in handling is pretty beneficial. Now, the origin trait of these weapons is Soul Drinker, where you gain health based on the number of hits before reloading. Considering this is a fusion rifle, that should be fairly easy. As far as the God road to choose, for PvE, Adrenaline Junkie Demolitionist seems like a pretty obvious one, but I also want you to lean into that Chill Clip. Lean into the fact that this weapon will slow nearby targets, lock them in place. No, it's not exactly Aggrceptor, but think of it as like Cold Steel on our swords. Now, an interesting one that I want to see is actually Cornered and Successful Warm-Up. Now, I know that sounds weird, right? No damage dealing perks. What are we doing here? Cornered increases the charge time when surrounded by combatants, and Successful Warm-Up after getting a kill, especially the enhanced version, allows for you to have that increase and that drop in charge time for a longer duration. So I just kind of want to see how both of these stack. The grand scheme of things though, I'm thinking this weapon is really leaning hard into that Chill Clip, and so the Chill Clip compulsive reloader is kind of what I'm looking at. Now for PvP, normally I would always say tap the trigger. Tap the trigger though got a nerf for fusion rifles. Now I'm gonna say tap the trigger again, but the enhanced version. Enhanced tap the trigger grants greatly increased stability and accuracy. So it's kind of interesting. Bungie went out and they nerfed tap the trigger, but they're essentially giving us almost OG tap the trigger with the enhanced version. We don't know the exact stats there, but I'm assuming it's pretty good. But I think that combination with actually perpetual motion with projection fuse, I know the weapon already has decent range by default, but again, it has one less zoom than that of main ingredients. So I want a battery perk actually boosting my range, and whatever you want your barrel perk to be. You can max out that recoil direction with arrowhead break. I don't think extended barrel or chamber compensator would help there, because it would still keep it as a even number. Therefore, the weapon won't be that vertical in its recoil. Honestly, guys, just choose a stat boosting barrel perk and just slot on a counterbalance mod. Again, fellas, this is a craftable weapon. And if you want to check out how to earn weapon patterns for the raid weapons, feel free to check out our video we did earlier going over everywhere you can get a red box weapon. Now moving on, we have Submission. This is a kinetic SMG, lightweight frame, shoots at 900 rounds per minute. And yes, you can get this weapon as an Adept version with the master mode of the raid whenever it drops. Now this weapon by default, and I'm going to compare it to like Funnel Web, it actually has better default zoom. Funnel Web sits at about 14 zoom. Submission sits at 15. So it's got a little more reach. However, what makes Funnel Web so good is number one, it's a vice weapon, and number two, it's void. And this season, it's extremely deadly. With that being said though, I gotta say this weapon does have similar roles, such as Frenzy and Subsistence. We see that on Funnel Web. It's a fantastic role. However, for Submission, considering that this weapon has Soul Drinker as its origin trait, where you gain health based on the number of hits before reloading, I want you to either consider subsistence or overflow, depending on the situation, right? Like subsistence is really good when you're dealing with trash ads, but in like Master and Grandmaster Nightfalls, it's a little more difficult to proc, right? Whereas overflow, just having that double capacity in your magazine, especially enhance overflow. You can be in a situation where you can hit multiple targets at once without ever having to reload, especially if you're stepping over special ammo, your weapon is auto reloading, and voila, when you actually do have to reload in a situation, boom, you may be able to get your whole health back. I'm really interested to see how Soul Drinker performs even inside of things like PvP, but I think that combination with Frenzy is definitely the way to go here. Now for PvP, considering that this weapon does have more reach than that of Funnel Web, I do want to give it a go. Number one, the weapon already has 100 recoil direction. You do not need any type of recoil boosting barrel perk, meaning you can slot out things like hammer forged rifling, small bore, corkscrew rifling, etc., and not have to worry with the recoil direction or even a counterbalance mod on this weapon. You also have accurized rounds to boost that range even more. And for PvP specifically, I personally love Harmony. Harmony is one of my favorite traits, and you can get enhanced Harmony on this one where it lasts even longer. But on things like Shayor's Wrath, Harmony is so good. And this is perfect because this is present in the kinetic slot, thus allowing me to use other weapons in that energy slot, especially when you pair it with things like a sniper rifle. And we also have some pretty good sniper rifles this season, aka the Void Sniper Rifle Foog, which actually has some pretty nasty rolls. But that perpetual combination with Harmony would be pretty good. Other than that though, you can go just purely for consistency here and do perpetual motion and killing wind together. And then if you wanted to go even crazier with the range, considering this is a submachine gun, Encore and killing wind. And this one's an interesting one because right here, Encore, which to me has never been a great perk, does have a duration buff with the enhanced version. That combination with killing wind also being enhanced, man, once you get a kill going, who knows the crazy range you can get up to with both of those stacking. I'm really interested in seeing this, fellas. That is a combination that could potentially have some stupid reach for an SMG. Moving on, we have Lubrae's Ruin. This is one of the most beautiful glaives in the game. It's a solar glaive, and yes, it's a legendary weapon. I personally think it's going to be my go-to glaive for when I do use glaives. And once we get Solar 3.0, it's going to synergize very nicely. Couple things that got fixed for glaives. Grave Robber is now working for it. That's right. When going for that melee final blow, it will auto reload your weapon from reserves. You also have Vorpal on this weapon. Again, that's a 15% buff. This is a special weapon, so you can combine those two together. Swashbuckler. Now, personally, I've not used Swashbuckler yet, at least on a glaive, so I'm not really sure if there's any issues with the synergy there. But if there's not, then obviously the Swashbuckler Grave Robber combo is a pretty good one. Now, some other perks though. Immovable Object. Projectile impacts grant increased weapon energy while you're stationary with your shield raised. Now, I gotta see exactly how much energy this is, but I will say from the Caretaker encounter, especially on contest mode, dude, the only reason why I was able to get through that encounter was because of the glaive, right? Now, you also have Unstoppable Force. Blocking damage with your shield increases projectile damage for a short time. I need to test this out as well. Can that get the one-hit kill inside of PvP? It's still hell trying to land a shot, but I am interested in knowing like what the buff is for both PvP and PvE. Also, tilting at windmills. Blocking damage with your shield increases movement speed until you lower your shield. Maybe if you're having to like move fast while blocking to get to cover, perhaps. Again, I know not everyone is excited about the glaives, and we still need to talk about the exotic glaives at some point. Personally, I really do like this glaive. Now, an interesting perk that's found on this weapon is Swap Mag. It's the same as Quick Access Sling, giving plus 100 handling for 4 seconds. Or at least that's the notation put there. Not sure if I would want that. I kind of like the idea of a magazine perk instead. But I guess when you think about it, drawing that glaive out does kind of take a while, right? So having that increase in handling might allow the weapon to feel a little more fluid for you. So the trait combinations I would consider, again, Grave Robber, Swashbuckler, Vorpal Weapon, maybe Surrounded. That's kind of what I'm leaning toward. The question that I'm curious about, does Grave Robber proc Soul Drinker? And does Soul Drinker work based on the melee hits? Huh? Think about it. You're not necessarily wasting any ammo, you're just getting melee hits. So you're not necessarily reloading. But every time you reload with Grave Robber, does it self-proc Soul Drinker? Does it have to be a manual reload? Again, some testing required. Moving on to Forbearance. Guys, this is honestly the weapon I'm wanting the most. This is a Waveframe Arc Grenade Launcher. And yes, it's almost all but confirmed that Arc 3.0 will be the next set of subclasses. So this weapon is only going to get nastier. Being a Waveframe and having that big drop in damage, right? Like when you shoot it, it just engulfs the ground in a single lane with that damage. No other perk here looks sexier than, of course, Chain Reaction, especially the enhanced version, right? Where you have that improvement in ammo reserves. But each final blow with the weapon creates an elemental damage explosion. You can imagine the arc explosions that can occur here. That combination with Ambitious Assassin, where it overflows the magazine based on the number of defeated targets before reloading. You can get multiple shot outs at once. Now, I know you guys see Rampage, and that seems like the go-to option. The problem with Rampage is that for some unknown reason, and I don't know if One for All is the same way or not, it only takes into account the impact of the grenade and not exactly the wave of the frame hitting multiple targets and killing multiple targets at once. Just the impact of the grenade. So if the impact of the grenade shot only kills one target, but the wave itself kills multiple targets, it will only stack one Rampage stack for you, which is unfortunate. I'm not sure if One for All is the same way. Again, I'm gonna have to test both of those. Hopefully not though. And hopefully Rampage there is just a bug. You also have Golden Tricorn. Now I bring up Golden Tricorn because the buff with Golden Tricorn is pretty good. At one stack, it's 15%, and at two stacks, it's 50%. By the way, the enhanced version is for an improved duration. And with Arc 3.0 around the corner, we're gonna eventually be using Arc Grenades more. So when you actually get that second stack with an Arc Grenade kill, voila, you got a 50% buff there for up to 10 seconds. So a lot of great options on this one, guys. Unrelenting is also a good one in that first column. I will say out of all the weapons though, this one right here, man, this one excites me. Moving on, we have Insidious. This is the pulse rifle and an aggressive burst pulse rifle at that. This is your 4-burst pulse rifle, and we don't have many of those. Some of the most popular ones back in the day was, of course, like Blast Furnace, Go Figure, Sacred Providence. Comparing the two, Sacred actually has the same zoom that Insidious has, but the thing that makes Sacred an interesting one is, of course, you can get it with rangefinder, so you can stretch out that range even more. But I do want to look at the combinations that you can get on this pulse rifle, because it can roll with things like Vorpal Weapon and Rapid Hit. Rapid Hit for a pulse rifle is really good because a normal pulse rifle is a 3-round burst, thus giving you 3 stacks of Rapid Hit with just 1 burst. The beautiful thing here about this aggressive burst being a 4-round burst is within a single shot, you can have 4 stacks of Rapid Hits. That's increased in stability as well as increased there in reload speed. Combine that with the likes of Vorpal or One for All or even Rampage, you've got a pretty good combination going here. You also have Dragonfly with the combination of Dragonfly and Rampage together. That's pretty deadly, as that will continue to scale, and the same for One for All and Dragonfly. And for PvP, you can never go wrong with a Rampage heating up combo. That without the steady hands or accurized rounds. This weapon does have 78 recoil direction, which is kind of an interesting one. It's still somewhat vertical, but it will have some hop, which makes me wonder if you are gonna have to rock this weapon with Arrowhead Break just to go ahead and max that thing out, because this is a 4-round burst, and normally the first 3 rounds come out pretty normally, but that 4th one on some of those other 4-round burst weapons will have a little more hop there in the back end, which is why Arrowhead Break may be necessary here. Regardless, being that this weapon can be crafted and we can get enhanced versions of these perks, I am very excited to try this thing out. Enhanced Rapid Hit, Enhanced Rampage, Enhanced Dragonfly, and this may actually become one of the best weapons for both PvP and for PvE. Now, the last and final weapon is the linear fusion rifle Cataclysmic. This weapon may set the new tone for DPS. This is a linear fusion, and right off the bat, you're probably already seeing it. Guys, 4 times the charm and clown cartridge. Not only that, you can get the enhanced version of both of these. Enhanced clown cartridge and enhanced 4 times the charm. Honestly, just sitting there doing the math in my head, this may sound crazy. I think we can potentially get up to 14, 15 shots without ever having to reload. Now listen, I get it. Some damage dealing perks, like Vorpal or even Firing Line, that's desirable on a linear fusion. And I'm right there with you. But what I'm saying is, depending on how much enhanced clown cartridge can overload that weapon on top of 4 times the charm, the sheer total damage is enough to use this linear fusion rifle over others. I think that's going to be the DPS option, guys. That particular role right there. Everything else is kind of whatever. That's the one I'm looking at the most when it comes to DPS. And when we start combining this with the Adept version, with enhanced backup plan, with enhanced battery or ionized battery, dude, this thing's gonna be nuts. Well, guys, those are your random rolls for all the raid weapons. Let me know in the comments below what you think. And again, if you're interested in learning how to unlock the red box version of all of these weapons to eventually get around to crafting your very own raid weapon, feel free to check out our video we did earlier. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching. And as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.